You're listening to Nice-ish, a podcast about reality TV and your opinions with your hosts, Cindy and Grace. Hi guys, I'm Cindy. You might know me as Love Cindy C, formerly Love Andy C, on Twitter or Instagram. I'll be co-hosting this podcast with my daughter, Grace.
That's me. I'm Grace. I'm super excited to be hosting this podcast with my mom. I can't wait to get into all the Bravo shows and discuss all of your opinions. I don't have a personal Twitter account, but I will be managing our new podcast account at Nice-ish Podcast. So you had mentioned that you changed your Twitter X something handle, whatever we call it.
Why don't we just refer to it as Twitter? It'll be easier.
Okay. So I noticed that you changed your Twitter handle to Love Cindy C. What made you decide to change it?
I decided to change it because I was constantly getting mistaken for Andy. People thought I was Andy Cohen. Even though it's my face in the profile picture, it was happening on a regular basis, multiple times a day, multiple times a week. And I thought, I'm getting yelled at for stuff that I didn't do. So I thought, let's change it now. Since we were starting the podcast, it kind of seemed like a good time to start fresh.
Yeah.
Our podcast will be a bit different than most. This is not going to be a recap podcast where we go scene by scene and discuss. We're not going to be going into detail about the weekly episodes that are currently on Bravo. Instead, we'll be gathering tweets with people's opinions on Bravo news or on episodes or anything of that sort and discussing those. And that could venture off into other things, but that's where we're going to start. So start with the Real Housewives of Orange County. It came out the other day that Jennifer and her boyfriend, Jean Jacket Ryan, were in the news because he was involved in a gambling scheme. And this was major. But it was also kind of huge for you and I, Grace, because it involved our beloved Dodgers.
Yeah, we're huge Dodgers fans.
Huge. We get the MLB package because we are two Dodger fans stuck in the middle of Yankee and Mets country.
Yeah.
So we don't get any of the games, so we have to get the package for that to watch. And it came out that one of our players, Shohei Ohtani, he plays for the Dodgers, his interpreter, because he's from Japan, was involved in a major gambling scheme. He was accused of stealing $16 million from Ohtani to gamble with and then to cover his debts. His name is Mizuhara. And Mizuhara accessed Ohtani's bank account online and shut out Ohtani's agent, his accountant, his financial advisor, all of them from the account, and then proceeded to gamble with Ohtani's money.
Wow. 16 million.
Yeah, it happened.
You trust people too with your money too.
You do. And it happened over a couple of years. So he didn't just steal the 16 million all at once where it's noticeable.
Yeah.
He did it over a couple of years.
I mean, I would notice if $10 was missing because I'm looking at my bank account every day. But somebody who has that kind of money isn't looking.
No, he's not. And he signed a contract this year with the Dodgers for $700 million.
The most any MLB player has ever gotten.
Yes.
Actually, MLB or just in general, like sports?
I don't know. That's a great question. I think it's way up there. Way up there. So ESPN released an article talking about what happened and how it connects with Jean Jacket Ryan. And it says Mizuhara's illegal bookmaker told the interpreter that he could pay his gambling debts by wiring money to, quote, Associate One. And according to ESPN, Associate One, any guesses?
Jean Jacket Ryan.
Yes. Bingo. Because there's an active investigation, Jean Jacket Ryan is working with authorities and cannot confirm or deny what's going on, his lawyer says. But he also said he's not a bookmaker or a sub-bookie. Not sure what that is, but he is
not
pleading.
Good.
He's pleading not guilty to being a sub-bookie. They also said that Jean Jacket and the alleged illegal bookmaker in question, another guy he's been working with, Matthew Bowyer, reportedly laundered Mizuhara's payments through marker accounts at casinos. After depositing the payments, Jean Jacket and Bowyer then withdrew the chips from the marker accounts, gambled with them, and if they won, cashed out. Now, I'm trying to figure out what that means because I'm not big on gambling, but I'm guessing that they took the money that Mizuhara paid them that was supposed to go just towards his debt and actually gambled with it to try to make money off of it. And if they did, they cashed out that money, kept it, and then kept the remaining money that he paid them and paid off his debt with it.
Right.
Which is...
I would think that was what would make most sense to me. I'm not a fraud, so I don't know how this works, but,
Well, multiple sources told ESPN that Jean Jacket received immunity in return for his testimony. So dude's not going to jail, I guess.
No, but he's snitching.
Oh, yeah, snitches get stitches. It's a good thing he's not going to jail.
Right.
So
doesn't make you any less of a fraud. It just means
no,
that
it doesn't. And
immunity.
Apparently, Jen posted a picture on her Instagram that she's staying with him. It was a "We've got this" picture of the two of them. So
we've got this. What a joke.
What have you got?
I know. Well, yeah, you've got a fraud boyfriend. That's what you've got.
So, in looking at the tweets, reality TV junkie at Ms_Poke said, "Why do people with shady business dealings love to go on reality TV?"
It's a great question.
And
one that I don't have the answer
I was going to say, do you know the answer to that?
I have absolutely no idea. I don't get why you would open yourself up if you know that you're doing shady stuff. Because usually I would assume that somebody who's doing things like that know that it's shady. You can't think that it's...
I mean, this is top tier fraud we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
This is not some little misdemeanor or whatever.
This is Jen Shah level fraud.
Yeah, Jen Shah fraud, which is like the highest fraud.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's up there. 16 million. And he's involved. So that's huge.
I just hope that she doesn't marry him. Please don't marry him.
If she's staying with him, I think that's the plan.
Well, that's not smart on her part then.
It's too bad. She actually posted a comment on her Instagram because Tamra had posted a picture for Mother's Day with all of the Housewives of OC, and two were missing, Jen and Shannon. And a lot of people were kind of speculating that maybe they weren't invited. And she made a comment saying, "I've seen a few people speculating that not everyone was included. Heather Dubrow is always inclusive, and all of us girls were invited. Shannon was out of town, and she called him Ryan. Sorry, Jean Jacket's kind of a habit now. I'm trying to get it to stick. So she said Shannon was out of town, and Ryan and I were in Vegas with friends. I was bummed to miss, but couldn't get back in time. XOXO.
Oh, they were in Vegas. That's interesting. Vegas of all places.
Whose money were they gambling with that time?
I know, right? I don't know.
Well, cameras actually picked up this past weekend and filmed additional scenes because they had already finished the season. And once this news broke, we saw Tamra and Emily and I think Heather tweet out pictures. They were with Alexis, and all four of them filmed additional scenes. So that's kind of big. We think they were talking about the scandal because Tamra wore a hat that said FBI on it. Now, I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of comments that don't think it's funny, think it's pretty awful, in fact. But
you know what's more awful than wearing an FBI hat is
being investigated by the FBI.
Exactly. Yes, that's worse. Me wearing a stupid hat is not nearly to the degree I feel like that.
I kind of feel that way too. She's stirring the pot a little bit, but that's what the show's for.
Well, I feel like if she doesn't do it, then it's you're boring, and then if you do stuff like that, then it's
you're mean.
You're mean, yeah.
Right. So I don't know.
I'd rather the mean.
I thought it was funny.
I know,
honestly,
I thought it was funny too.
I feel like I'm in the minority because of all the comments I saw really trashing her about it. But
I think it's because a lot of people don't like her in general. I don't really know why.
Yeah, I think she serves a purpose on the show, but So anyway, Tamara wore that, and then Jen saw it and posted her own picture wearing a hat that said trash.
Oh. Where's everybody getting these hats made so fast?
I don't know.
Like, you just had that in your closet? Did you get that made somewhere?
Amazon Prime today.
Yeah.
But
Well, at least it wasn't a dick pic hat.
Oh, yeah. One of the worst Housewives merch that's out there. Do you remember on Watch What Happens Live when Jennifer was on and Ryan was in the audience and he gave Andy a dick pic hat and Andy was just staring at it like, what am I supposed to do
Why
with
are you
this?
giving this to me? So, first of all, why are you giving this to me on air? Like, you couldn't have given it to me at a commercial so I could accept it, quietly.
What am I supposed to do with it? Where am I supposed to put it? I'm
Do you want me to
never
wear
gonna wear
this?
I
Yeah.
know. Andy probably is the only one in existence because I can't imagine anybody paid money to buy that.
No.
Well, that actually prompts a really good question. Some of the worst Housewives merch that we've ever had. What do you think?
Ooh. Well, there's actually two schools of thought to this. Is it that stuff that actually got made or things that were just ideas and never came to fruition, like Sonya's toaster oven? Because that didn't even get me. That's a real one of one.
Yeah, that's kind of an iconic merch idea, but it was only an idea.
I mean, just like everything Sonya said. Everything. And I love her. I do. She was really dreaming big there, but she couldn't get it together.
No, yeah, that's true. I guess the first thing that came to mind was from Real Housewives of Atlanta. Sonya came up with a shirt idea, and I think they might still be on her website. And I had to Google it because I thought it was pow, pow, pow. And I'm like, that doesn't sound right. And it's actually bop, bop, bop.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of one of those ideas where not everything is like
Gone with
merch.
the wind fabulous.
Yeah, it's
They
not all
can't
merch
be-
fabulous.
Yeah.
Not all merch worthy.
No,
So,
I get it.
That one, I just thought, I wouldn't even know how to explain it to somebody if I was wearing it.
Well, it's like, do you remember at BravoCon when either a fan or somebody asked the question about what's your most famous line or what's your most iconic line that you've said, and everybody's going around in Atlanta, and you have Kenya who's like Gone with the Wind fabulous, and Shereé's like, who gonna check me, boo? And then gets to Sonya, and she said that, and it's just like, that is not, it's not really comparable to the other ones.
And it's okay. You don't have to have
Right,
one.
you don't have to. It's okay.
So
not everybody has to have a line like that.
That's the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. When I think of terrible Housewives products, the one that I probably think of first is from OC, and it's Lynn Curtin's cuff business. First of all, I don't really know who is wearing these. I don't really know if...
Well, I didn't get one for Mother's Day. Thanks a lot, Grace.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you wanted one.
I didn't know I wanted one either, but I do.
So that was it actually called Cuff Love at one time? Or am I remembering that correctly? Or is that not... Did that not
That
happen?
is true.
That is
true.
true.
It was called Cuff Love, and then I think she actually branched out into jewelry. So it changed to like Lynn Curtin Collection or something like that. But she still sells the cuffs.
Well, that's a Lynn Curtin staple. She was so interesting, wasn't she?
Yeah.
I miss
she
her.
was fun.
I miss her.
I miss her too. She had a rough go though. It was not a pleasant time for her. It was a pleasant time for me watching her, but no. I enjoyed her seasons, but I don't think she enjoyed her seasons. I think she was the only housewife whose kids got an eviction notice to their house.
Yes,
on camera.
First and only.
Yeah, that was rough. Well, I will stick with OC and say that my all-time favorite Housewives merch would be Alexis Couture.
Yeah, that was a good one too. Wow, the OC, we got a lot coming out of
Yeah, her designs were something. She clearly didn't know what she was doing. She didn't know what...
Didn't she rip up that lady's dress too?
Yes, she cut the arms off.
Yeah, that's right.
On camera.
Oh,
The woman designed that whole dress,
horrible.
and she just, I like it better this way, cut off one of the sleeves. Yes. She didn't know what couture actually meant. I think she said on Watch What Happens Live when Andy asked her, I think she said it meant rich. But and I actually used one of her pictures. When she did all the modeling pictures for her fashions.
Yeah, I remember that.
I called it the chalk outline because she was just laying on the ground trying to pose, and I thought it looked like a dead body. So that's probably my favorite.
Yeah, that's a good one too. So let's talk about the Pump Rules Season 11 Reunion Part 1. I have a tweet here from @DailyBravoMail that said, wow, so Lala wanted to take Katie down by trying to use a friend venting to someone, as we all do, and weaponize that on camera as a way to throw a wedge between her and Ariana's friendship and business relationship, all because Katie called her out for being selfish and unaware. Lala's coming off so fucking desperate, man. It's sad. I also have another tweet with a similar opinion. @Vandals of Youth said, who hasn't vented about a good friend or a boss or a sibling or a parent doesn't mean you're a bad person. So I would agree with that. I think we've all had moments where we feel frustrated with good friends. I think that that's probably actually who it happens most with is good friends.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you want to vent to somebody about your friend and what's bothering you doesn't mean that you're not being honest. Lala keeps saying that Katie's not being honest about what she said, but I just feel like it's a way to process your feelings, and it's to see if this is a deep issue for Katie or, you know, if they keep coming up.
I think that Ariana has so much on her plate, or had so much on her plate, that Katie felt like, okay, this isn't a huge deal. I just need to get it off my chest. I'll talk to my other friend and tell her and vent to her. And that way I'm not piling on Ariana, and eventually it'll just kind of work itself out here, and I'll work out my feelings and everything will be cool. And she confided in Lala, and I think Lala really betrayed that. I don't know if she wanted her to pile on Ariana during the season too. I'm not quite sure what her end game here was. It always surprises me when someone shares something told in confidence thinking it's going to pay off somehow. I think you just look untrustworthy, and why would anybody want to go to you again with anything?
Yeah, that's what Katie said. She's like, well, then I won't go to you with stuff. I went to you, but I won't anymore. And it just made it look like that Katie was talking shit about Ariana or something like that. Like she would call her all the time and, you know, will you kept saying all this. And clearly, Lala must have told Sheena, because Sheena seemed to know all about it.
There's nothing wrong with it. You're not bashing your friend. It's human nature to have fights and have arguments, and it doesn't have to end a friendship.
And I actually get Katie's point, too. She's like, I was really upset that Ariana didn't tell me that she was gonna do Chicago. I found out with everybody else. We're in the sandwich shop together and we're trying to get this done, and then, you know, she's leaving and she didn't mention it. So that's a totally valid feeling. She just needed somebody to talk to about it. And my advice to Katie would be, if you want to vent about Ariana or anyone else on the cast, don't pick a person on the cast.
Yeah, right. Well, sometimes you need to vent to someone so that you know how to handle it with the other person, too. Like, she could have completely vented to Lala about it, and then a couple days later went to Ariana about it. She
might have even forgotten about it. She might have been like, oh, yeah, I think I talked to Lala when that happened. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, I think for Katie, you need to talk to somebody, like talk to your mom, talk to your dad or a sibling, or just so that way you know it won't go anywhere. Or just a friend who's not even on the show. Just don't pick somebody on the show, because they clearly what Lala did was if, she was going to use it in an argument against her. She wanted it to better her opinion and make her opinion stronger.
It reminds me too, like Lala keeps saying that she's this truth teller, and I tell the truth in an ugly package because she considers herself a bit brutal, which she can be. And it reminded me on Married to Medicine when Heavenly was talking to her therapist. I forgot. I think it was a therapist. And she was confiding in him. And he said to her, honesty without compassion is brutality. And it stuck with me all this time because I thought, you can't just tell someone the truth, brutally honest, and think you're doing them some sort of favor when there's no kindness or compassion in your delivery.
Yeah, that's a great quote.
And that's what I wish I came up with it, but I don't know the name of the therapist. I should have looked that up. But it's true. You're not helping the situation if you're just piling on someone. There's a way to do it compassionately.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that if we went back with Pump Rules too, like from the very beginning, I would see a lot more of Katie that I thought was just a miserable person, but now I think I would look at it differently. I think I would go back and see her and be like, oh my God, well, now I know why you're feeling this way. It's because you have to deal with these fools all the time who are just constantly
disrespecting and embarrassing you. And then you have some of the women who still stuck up for the men, even though they were clearly in the wrong. So it had to be hard to be that one lone woman who was like, I'm not putting up with their bullshit. I'm
right,
calling
you're just
out.
Tired. I don't even see Katie as miserable. I just see her as tired.
Yeah. Oh, tired. God. Being married to Schwartz would be tiring.
Yeah, I know. Speaking of being married to Schwartz, I have a tweet here from @oneofakind, ONEUVAKIND, and they say, why do we hold Brittany accountable for marrying Jax knowing how terrible he was to her before the marriage, but don't do the same for Katie? She knew what he was and still married him. Can't be mad at Brittany if you weren't able to do the same to Katie.
I think that's fair. I mean, I'm not a Brittany fan, and I am a Katie fan now, but I do think it's a fair comparison. Schwartz showed who he was from season 1. I do think they probably got married for different reasons. Katie got married to Schwartz, for a different reason than Brittany.
Yeah, I think that too. I think that why Brittany got married to Jax is because she wanted to stay on Vanderpump Rules. We know she went and purposely sought out Jax in Vegas to meet him. So that was the intent. And Katie and Tom were together when the show started. He actually wasn't even a full-time cast member for the first 2 seasons. Tom
really?
Schwartz was, yeah.
I didn't remember that.
No, if you look up the cast photo, like he's not in the cast photos. He didn't work there.
Oh my gosh, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. So I think with Katie, it was just that she had invested so much time in him and just kind of didn't want to start over. I get that both reasons aren't great to stay with somebody.
No, this is the prime example of you can't change a man.
I don't know. So it's too bad, but I don't know.
Yeah, the end result was the same. They both ended up with men who are disrespectful, who didn't appreciate them. Tom never stood up for Katie, ever.
Ever.
He took, I don't care who she was fighting with, he took that person's side.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a shame, but they both learned a lesson here.
I mean, she could literally be telling him a story about, oh, I got into a fight with whoever, and it's like, well, what did you do?
Right. Right.
What do you mean, what did I do? What did the other person do? So how do you feel like part 1 of the reunion went overall?
It's interesting because I was expecting them to start with them all watching the last scene of the finale because none of them have seen it yet. And that really showed the way that Sheena and Lala kind of flipped on Ariana. So she hasn't seen that part yet. So they kind of look supportive already.
Yeah. She's got no idea what's coming.
No, she doesn't. So they look supportive. They look still team Ariana, and that's
Yeah,
not
mostly
gonna be how it stays.
because mostly we were just talking about Sandoval.
Right.
A lot of it was about him. God, he's the worst, isn't he? He's just the worst person.
For them to bring up his dark thoughts and his possible suicidal thoughts, and for him to want sympathy, and then to openly admit that he didn't believe Ariana when she said that,
God.
and she suffers from depression, it just kind of blew me away. Like, this guy is something.
I felt like they were kind of coaching him through answers a little bit too. Like, oh, well, like, is this what you meant? Or is this what you were doing? Like Andy and kind of the rest of the cast. Like, oh, well, is this how you meant to say it? Like the George Floyd thing, like that.
Oh,
like,
right.
oh, is this what you meant to
Yeah,
say? Because
Lala
I
did that
think
a
this
lot.
is what you meant, right? And then like, oh yeah, that's what I meant. So I feel like they were kind of I don't know, trying to help him along. But he doesn't help himself ever, though. He tries, and then he says something stupid like that.
Yeah, he's so unlikable. And he's like his biggest fan. I don't know.
He is a big fan.
I just can't stand him. And I'm not sure that I can be impartial here because I just don't like the guy.
Yeah, they're really trying to give Sandoval this redemption arc. They're trying to give him all of the tools here necessary. Like, here, you say this, mean this, do this. And he cannot hide who he is. He can't do it.
He can't. He cannot hide who he is. He's like, Ariana, hey, I want to apologize. It feels so bad. And she's like, no, I'm not interested. You fucking bitch. She talks about all of you, everybody. She talks shit about everyone here. She doesn't like any of you. Like, that's how quickly he switches.
Oh, yeah. It's like immediate.
He cannot hide who he is longer than 3 seconds. Joke.
I thought James was funny, though.
He didn't have much to say yet, but
No.
he made me chuckle when Andy said, you're the one who introduced Rachel into the group. And he's like, sorry, everybody. Sorry about that.
Like, he can be so funny when he's just sitting there, but as soon as he feels, like, defensive, though, it just goes right up. Like, Lala saying that he lives in the comments, like wait, what? Huh? No, like, I'm just sitting here having a good time. What are you doing?
Don't come for me.
Yeah, don't, because it's not going to end well.
I'm not quite sure why Brock is there. I mean, if he was there, you'd think Allie would be there because he's not a main cast member, is he?
Oh, that's a good point.
He's not in the opening.
So. No,
I'm not quite sure. He hasn't had much to say, so I'm not really sure. It's just so hard seeing Ariana tear up when people are talking, and she has sympathy for all of these people she thinks are her friends. When Brock's talking about his kids and not being able to see them, she's tearing up, and she admitted that she hadn't watched the season. So she has no idea the things that he has said about her.
I know.
It's just rough.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Ariana probably should have watched the season because I think she probably would have been a little bit more prepared going into this reunion, knowing that your friends aren't really your friends at the moment.
Yeah, they don't have your back. Let's get into Real Housewives of Atlanta. Bravo introduced the new cast for season 16, and the big news was that they got Portia Williams to come back. So that's pretty huge. Portia was always pretty popular. And then only 2 housewives from the previous season are returning, Kenya Moore and Drew Sidora. So we have those 3. Any thoughts on Portia, Kenya, or Drew?
I think it's good for the franchise to get some new women and keep these 3. I think that it kind of reminds me a lot of Roni when they got rid of a bunch of people after season 4 and then had 3 new women in season 5.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked for New York, so I hope that it does for Atlanta because Atlanta's been kind of dragging a little bit lately. So I think Kenya's a critical part to Atlanta, so keeping her makes sense. And Drew's going through a divorce with Tampa Ralph, so keeping her, they might be looking to show some of that, I'm guessing. And Portia, I can't wait to see, considering all the news about her estranged husband right now. So
yeah, that's pretty big news. He's confusing to me. He's got such a shady past. I'm not sure where all these women are coming from. He was on a couple seasons ago when he was married to Fallon, who I think was a friend of.
yeah.
And they filmed a scene where Portia actually was at their home and they were all swimming in the pool and he was there. So when it came out that he was divorcing Fallon and marrying Portia, that was a bit of a scandal.
Oh, yeah, that was a little weird, but also, I mean, his fraud in general.
It's pretty long, I think.
Oh, yeah, he's got quite the rap sheet, I think.
And you looked into it a little bit.
I did. He basically, it's all about kind of immigration as his thing right now. So back in like the 80s and 90s, he had a lot of bank fraud, credit card fraud, but he was here on a visa. So he kind of overstayed those visas and was deported. Now, what happened is before he was deported for credit card fraud, he applied to a program called the Special Agricultural Worker Program, but that was under a different name. So to seek temporary resident status, and he didn't include any of his criminal history. He didn't include any of it. It didn't include his name, didn't anything. It was a completely different identity. And he actually got accepted into that.
Okay.
So after that happened, nothing really happened for a while. Like for about like a 20, 25 year period there, really, nothing showed up on his record. Everything was kind of fine. But then he wanted to apply for citizenship, naturalization.
Mm-hmm.
And when he kind of started trying to do that in 2016, the courts were like, immigration was like, no, you got this.
They started poking into his past.
They started looking into it, and they're like, you got this temporary and permanent resident status unlawfully. So no, we are not going to allow you citizenship.
Become a citizen. Okay.
So that's where that whole thing is around.
So as of right now, he's in the U.S., but he might get deported again then.
Maybe.
That's so she literally was like, peace out.
Yeah, like no. As soon as this came out, I'm done. I'm not.
It was literally within 24 hours when this news broke, I think she said, I'm filing for divorce.
So I am definitely interested.
Do we think she didn't know all this? Or
I don't think so. I mean, this happened back in like
the 80s and 90s.
And then when he started to try and get naturalization, that was in 2016. So she wasn't even married to him. I don't even know if she knew him back then.
Right. So, I don't know when she was born, so she might not have even been born when he started all this stuff.
Right, yeah.
Oof. Ladies, look into these men before you marry them.
I like Portia a lot. I think that she has had the most growth of anybody on this show.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like that where she started from, like thinking that the Underground Railroad was like an actual railroad with a train and things like that, to all of her activism now is really impressive, and it's really a growth, but her growth in men has really not
changed.
So I'm hoping that we get to see more of her this season and see about this.
Yeah, I like Portia as well. I've come to appreciate Kenya. I wasn't always a fan of hers in the beginning, but I've come around. I like her now. I think she's definitely an important part of the cast. I'm not so sold on Drew. I'm not sure. Without Tampa Ralph, I'm not sure if she's that interesting. And he's terrible. So it's not
terrible.
like I think like he's this great guy and, you know, we need him. But
we need him.
but she might need him. I don't know. We'll see. The whole story last year with him and his cousin Courtney, I just couldn't stand her. So if Ralph's not there, she won't be there. So I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm okay. She was
terrible. She was thirsty. She came after Candy for no reason. She was just
literally no reason.
No, she was
weird.
awful. I wasn't a fan. I don't like that stuff. Let's talk about Shamia. Shamia is one of Portia's best friends, and she's finally going to be holding her own peach.
I think it's time. I'm ready for her to have her own peach. I like her a lot, too.
We first saw her back in seasons 5 through 7. She was just a guest, though, back then. Then she became a friend in season 8. Then back to a guest seasons 9 through 13 and season 15. So she's been on the show a whole lot.
Yeah, she has. I think it's time then.
I agree.
I didn't realize she was on that much.
Yeah, a lot. So I think she's earned it. I think let's give her a chance to be here full time and see what she can do. And see, you know.
I think it's good to make her a peach holder too, because she's not brand new to the group. We know who she is. We've seen her a little bit, not full time, but we do know who she is. So that probably will help with all of the 3 new people too.
Which gets to the 3 new women. There's Angela Oakley, Brittany Edie, and Kelly Farrell, who are the 3 new housewives joining the cast. So do we know anything about them?
Yes, we do know something about them.
Perfect.
So I'll start with Angela. Angela is a real estate agent, and she's the wife of Chicago Bulls player Charles Oakley.
Okay.
Brittany is a podcast host, author, and CEO of the brand Courageous Collection. Mm-hmm. And Kelly owns a restaurant called Nana's Kitchen, and she's been featured on the Food Network before.
Great.
So it's just a little bit about them.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I like when they bring in new women, and I was ready for a change. Atlanta had a rough season.
Yeah.
And so I think this is probably good. One familiar face we're going to see returning as a friend is Cynthia. Cynthia Bailey is back. I have always had a kind of a love-hate relationship with Cynthia. I think she's gorgeous. I think she's sweet. Do I find her overly interesting? Not so much.
Right. She was extremely interesting when Peter was on.
She wasn't. Peter was.
Yeah. God, I miss him.
I don't know if I miss him. He's had a lot of issues, but
yeah,
he was definitely a character. He added something to the show, and it's about housewives, so I kind of like to stick with that. I don't always love focusing on their men as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when Nene called him out for being a chick, pretty much.
A bitch. I think she called him a bitch. I don't know. I could take or leave it for Cynthia. I don't really
I think
care.
that they're probably doing that too, again, because they're adding so many new women. It's good to have a
familiar face.
It's good to have, yeah. Is she still living in LA, or is she not doing that anymore then?
Maybe she's going back and forth. I don't know.
Okay. Because I know she was on a cameo for Beverly Hills, right?
Yeah, maybe she thought she'd work in to the cast over there, but I don't know. I don't know if she's back permanently or if she's just filming. 'Cause she's just a friend, so.
Yeah.
And then that leaves the one that they cut loose.
Oh, Shereé.
Who got check me, boo? Shereé. She will not be back this season, which means she will be the first housewife to be fired 3 times.
That's like the worst stat to have, that you were fired 3 times.
Yeah, it's not a great stat. Although
Shereé.
she has another terrible stat, which is the 3 men that she's had on the show.
Oh, God. Yeah, yeah.
We got Bob. We got Tyrone, and we have Marcel.
I don't understand how this woman can't pick a decent guy. Like, I'm saying decent. Decent, I'm not even saying good. Literally, just like above, just not being a domestic violence abuser or a fraud
or a cheater or something.
Anything like that.
Yeah, or in jail.
They all have it. They have to have at least one of those qualities.
Didn't she go visit Tyrone in jail multiple times? She waited for him.
Yeah,
like come on, she's so much better than that. I like Shereé. In her heyday on the show, she was awesome.
Yeah, she was great.
She was funny. She was interesting. I liked everything about her. I still like her. I just feel like she really squandered her opportunity on the show for making She by Shereé huge.
I know. Why are you not ready?
I would have worn the shit out of that stuff.
People are asking for it, and you have a chance to actually bring that back. I mean, how many people get a chance to pick up a failed business from that and actually bring it back?
I mean, she should have had it working way back when.
Oh,
but she didn't. But yeah, she had the opportunity now. I went on the website after. Well, she says it crashed because so many people were trying to buy stuff. I believe it crashed because it just wasn't working. But I went on it when it was available because I wanted a She by Shereé sweatshirt. And I think they were around $250. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't pull that trigger and buy it.
No, I don't get why you would price it that way either, because think about if you just price it reasonably. T-shirts aren't expensive to make.
Uh-huh.
Sweatshirts aren't expensive to make. These aren't expensive items.
I would have even paid like $60 for it. Even though I think that's a lot, I would have paid that. She would have had so many sales if she had priced it right. But she went for that $250, and it's like, how many people passed on that?
I mean, it's that basic, like, crew neck Gildan sweatshirt that you can pick up at Michael's. You know, it's that's the level of quality. And I think she just priced herself out there, too. And then I don't even know what happened. Is she still selling stuff? Like, can you even still go on her website? Does it still work?
I don't know. I think so. I don't see why it wouldn't. But it was just disappointing, though, that she had so many chances on that and it just never really materialized the way it could have. It could have been one of the most successful Housewives brands out there, and it just didn't happen. And then throw in the terrible men she's been with.
It is still up here. I update. Her website is still on here.
Okay, breaking news.
Exactly. But yeah, like this crop top pink set is like, so for sweatpants and a sweatshirt, $225. I don't get why she decided to do that. I don't know who advised her to do that either.
I don't know. It's too bad. I would have liked to have had an original.
Because it's like with the cameos and stuff like that, Sonia prices hers lower. Well, Sonia needs money, so that's why she probably does. But she gets a lot of people to do that because you've priced lower, so you get way more people who can buy that.
I think we saw that on season 1 of Ultimate Girls Trip. They were all talking in the car, and I think Luann said the same thing. I think
Teresa
said to her, "Why are you so low?"
Yeah,
and she's like, "Because I get way more this way. Who's gonna pay $200 for a Cameo when you can look at a housewife you like as well and pay $99?"
Yeah. Because a lot of people can't afford $200 for a 30-second video or minute video from Teresa.
Yeah, if it's even that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the Valley then. So you had posted a clip from the Valley of Zach, Jasmine, and Brittany talking about why he wasn't invited to Big Bear, which is Janet's baby moon. And we see Simon, a.k.a. Pink Boots, in the background texting Janet what's going on at Kristen's t-shirt launch party. So Jasmine in the clip went on to call Pink Boots Harriet the Spy as well.
Which was hilarious.
Which was funny. So at Matt_J_Kimball said, She needs better spies. He got clocked almost immediately.
He really did. I mean, dude was obvious.
Well, the look on his face when Jasmine's like, "What are you doing? Like, what are you recording us? Are you, what are you doing?" I'm texting Janet. Like as quietly as can be. Like, he couldn't even come up with a lie. Like, he just looked like a deer in headlights. Like, oh, you noticed that I was here? You
noticed I was taking transcripts? Yeah, it couldn't have been more obvious, but I just thought Jasmine was absolutely hilarious. She just called it out.
Yeah, she wasn't having it. She could tell, which I really appreciate that she just
Same.
completely stopped and was like, no, what I can tell that you're doing something. I don't know what you're doing, but I want to know.
Me.
Yeah, and it's bugging me. So I'm going to stop my entire conversation with Zach and Brittany to figure out what you're doing.
And call you out on your shit. It was glorious.
I think that he was kind of a spy. I think Janet told him before, tell me what is going on.
Absolutely.
At this party.
Well, she admits she's nosy, but it looked terrible.
It really did too. And so somebody also had tweeted out here at RHW forever said, so she meaning Janet, doesn't want to be at any event Kristen is at, but wants a full-blown report on what she missed. She's so obsessed with my girl Kristen.
It's true. The way I think Kristen should have handled it is I think she should have invited both Michelle and Janet to the event and let them be the ones to decline.
I think so too. I think Zach was right when he said that. I think
I
he was
agree
really
with
doing
Zach.
what was best. Yes, I agree with Zach. I think he was doing what was best for Kristen in that moment too. Like, I'm telling you that I really think this is what you should do, because if they, like you said,
now we have
decline.
this back and forth where she didn't invite me, so I'm not inviting her. And instead of you being the adult and saying, well, I'll just let her keep declining and she's going to look like the ass not inviting me, but I'm going to invite her to everything, it would have been a better way to handle it.
I think so too. And now, unfortunately, because Kristen didn't do that, now Zach, I think, got uninvited.
Yeah.
But I guess it's not really Kristen's fault, though. I mean, that's Janet's fault for not doing that. I don't know why you wouldn't invite Zach. You invited Jasmine. You can't invite Zach.
And then that awkward conversation when she called him, he clearly is hurt by not being invited. And I just thought Janet looked the worst in that.
Yeah, I don't think that she was really receptive to what he was saying. It's obvious that he was a little bit defensive because of how hurt he was.
Right.
And also, I don't think it's cool that you're calling people with your little, group there.
Yeah, on speakerphone so they can all cheer you on.
I mean, at least tell Zach that somebody's there. But,
She's looking worse and worse, I gotta say.
She really is looking like the gossip here. Like you said about her being nosy.
Yeah.
Nosy would be like looking stuff up on Zillow to see how much you paid for your house. That's being nosy. Gossiping, though, is totally different.
Right.
She really wants to know all the information, and she wants to be told all of it and pass it around as well.
Yeah. Keep it in her back pocket, and when she can use it, she does.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the female Jax, definitely. It's interesting when they finally get to Big Bear that we see the girls go off and the guys are together on the beach, and then Jax starts gossiping again. And I had tweeted out, oh my God, now Jax is telling Jason and Danny the Michelle secret. Dodie told one person, Jax, and that's allegedly because she says she heard from Jax, and he's told everyone that he heard it from Kristen, and he's telling everyone the secret. And he's still invited to everything.
I know.
Who's the gossip?
He's the problem. You pull him out and you're going to be fine.
It's really shocking to me.
And also, I think that what they're not getting either is Dodie tends to say things when she feels backed into a corner. She doesn't just openly go around saying that. Like, Jax can't wait to tell people.
She screamed it when that fight happened in the hallway.
Right.
That's when she kind of yelled about it. But I have a tweet from Rebecca at Blue Cabin, spelled Caban 13, who says, "See, this is my issue. They all engaged in the same behavior, but it appears that Dodie is the one that gets punished/isolated. Like, they all lie and gossip and exaggerate things and share secrets that they're not supposed to, but why is she the only one that gets dumped on?" And I gotta wonder why Jax is invited to everything and she's being shunned.
Yeah. I don't get, I mean, we know how many conversations Jax is the one that brought it up on camera in conversation with Dodie. He did that. So it starts with him, even though it's just really hard. I don't get it. I don't get why that they're dumping on Kristen. I'm not really sure why, if it's just easier to put
Sometimes
it on her.
I think it might be because it's easier to blame someone else than it is to admit that you've gossiped. Because Janet wants to talk about it, but she doesn't want any of the blame.
Yeah.
So it's easier to blame Kristen than it is to acknowledge, yeah, I talked about it. I said this about you. I talked about you, Michelle. I did. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I think Kristen is a really easy person to blame too, because you know that her fact checker is not quite up to par.
Right.
So it's easy to be like, well, I never said that. Kristen's the one saying that I said that. Think about that. So if Kristen says it, then it's probably not true, even though you probably did say that. You said some form of whatever she's saying. It's not, it's kind of like a half truth-ish. It's just easy to blame her.
Right.
Just listen.
And she's getting labeled as the liar. But then we saw in the literal last seconds of the episode, Michelle admitting that everything Kristen had said was true.
Okay, speaking of that, I am also sick of Bravo putting out sneak peeks for the episodes, and that was the sneak peek this week, was Jax talking to Michelle, and it's the last 2 minutes, so I really don't see the conversation.
Right.
I am sick of that.
So we're waiting 2 weeks, not one.
Right. It had nothing to do with the episode. Anyway, sorry.
Do you feel better?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, good. Well, she admitted, yes, I texted someone. Yes, I sent him sexy pictures. Yes, what she said is true.
I don't think Jax was expecting that.
No, I don't think he was expecting the
I think
truth.
he looked shocked. Like, oh, okay. What do you say? What do you say to that after? Yeah, that happened.
Well, he clearly tells Jesse, I think. Because
he can't wait to tell Jesse. He's probably ran after he was done with that conversation with Michelle. He probably ran off and could not wait.
I know something you need to know, and Kristen Doty told me.
Right. She's not even here, but yeah, she's the one that told me.
Yeah. So that's interesting. What do you think about that? That she's coming clean and saying, yeah.
I think it's time. I mean, she's a terrible liar, and she can't stand to be around him. It's so uncomfortable. When Jesse got back from his
retreat
meditation drug thingy, whatever it was, because there was definitely drugs, definitely high off of what is something. So when he got back, he literally wants to like hug her and try and kiss her, and she is not interested at all. Like, he's literally leaning in for a kiss, and she's just kind of like staring at him like, like, what do you want?
And when he hugs her, she's just as stiff as a board. She has checked out and is so far removed from this marriage.
Oh, yeah.
That it's really uncomfortable to watch. If I didn't know that they were already separated and she filed for divorce, this would be really awful to watch. But at least we know that they're getting to that point and they both go their separate ways. But it's kind of weird to watch now, knowing that they don't make it.
Yeah, I'm actually relieved that they don't make it.
Yeah, she's so unhappy.
She is. And I think that they probably, I'm not sure when they found out that they were getting this show, but I think that that's probably the reason why she tried to make it last as long as she did. I think she would have been done a year ago. Clearly she was, because she was texting somebody else.
Right.
But I think that if it wasn't for this, then I think it would have been over a long time ago.
Well, we know that Michelle and Janet and Jesse don't want to film with Kristen.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an issue with Housewives as well, where they try to ice out somebody in the cast. They don't want to film with them. They don't want anyone else to film with them. And there's a tweet from Allie Sanders, who's at real Housewives fan, and says, I was desperately hoping Kristen would pull a Ramona from Bethany's Mexico trip and let Janet know she's showing up because Bravo's paying for the cast trip. Icing Kristen out is lame and is showing Janet's true colors.
That's funny. Yeah, I know.
I remember that Roni episode.
I remember that too. Bethany's like, I don't think that I want you on this trip. I'm not comfortable with you, being there. Ramona's like, too bad. Like,
You're not
literally,
paying for
you're
it.
not
I'm
paying-
going. It's cast
Yeah.
trip.
What do you say to that?
For the first time, Bethany had nothing to say.
Right. She was like, I can't tell
And
you that you can't. I mean,
And as much as I don't want to agree with Ramona, she was 100% right. It's a cast trip. They all should go. That's what we all live for, is seeing them all interact together.
yeah, that was such like a fourth wall break too. Like,
Yeah.
I know that Bravo pays for this. I know you're not paying for it. It's not your trip. Your stupid tequila tasting thing is that your thing. So if I don't come to that, fine, whatever.
Right.
But I am going to go in the house, and I didn't want you there, and you have the audacity to try and go for the best room.
The best room. And then when she didn't get that, she tried kicking Dorinda out of her room. Oh my gosh. She's just awful.
Yeah.
That was so funny though. Well, back to the Valley.
Oh, I can talk about Roni all day though. So yeah, let's go back.
I had put out a tweet this morning and it was a poll. It's only been 2 hours. It's a 24-hour poll, but it's only been 2. It's got a little over 1,000 votes, 1,047, and it asked who is the real villain on the Valley. And the choices were Janet, Jax, Kristen, or Michelle. And it's overwhelming. Who do you think got the most votes so far?
I would think that Janet or Jax would, based off of the choice.
Yes. Janet is at 61.4%.
Wow. That many people picked her.
Yes. And then Jax at 26.3, Michelle at 9.1, and Kristen, who has been blamed for everything this entire season, is only at 3.1. How does that happen?
The audience knows.
Yes,
We
that's
see
exactly it.
We see what you're doing. And I think the reason why Jax actually probably isn't over Janet is because he knows that he is. Like, he knows that he's a gossip
Mhm.
and he doesn't
admits
care.
it.
And he admits it. And he's like, I gave you a simple task. I wanted you to go ask what the secret was about Michelle. Like, I told you to do this. So
Right.
he knows what he's doing. And for some reason, that comes off as really funny to me. So I think if you can be funny and a gossip, you're good.
And
when
if
you're
you can accept that you're the gossip.
Yes.
Janet takes no responsibility for any of it.
Yeah. So if you can't accept that you are and you think that, that you're not, you're definitely not, you're not likable either.
Right.
So if you're all three of those things, then the audience isn't going to like you.
And that's exactly what she's doing. She's not likable. She's blaming Kristen for things that she said. I agree that Kristen could have kept her mouth shut. However, we're filming a TV show.
Yeah.
So she kind of had to say it or say something.
Mhm.
However, she threw her friends under the bus. So that just didn't go over well. So I understand why they would be upset with Kristen. However, Janet owns nothing.
I don't even get why Janet's upset. I get why Michelle would be. Michelle would be like, girl, I trusted you in confidence. What are you doing to me
Well,
here?
Janet would be upset because she also said things about Michelle that she didn't want to get back to.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then Zach
She-
made the mistake and Jasmine made the mistake of telling Kristen.
Yeah.
And Kristen decided to just let it fly. So I understand the betrayal of something that you all were talking about privately. But
I think that Jax and Kristen and Brittany are so used to this type of thing. I don't think that
good point.
Janet's used to that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or Michelle or Jesse or anybody. Because normally in a situation like this, I think that Michelle and Jesse are right. Like, we're not going to anything that Kristen's going to right now because, we're not.
We're pissed.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that's normally in real life what would happen, but you can't do that
Right.
on a TV show like this, especially season 1. I don't know who gave you any authority to decide that.
It's your job. You're a newbie. We don't know you. Get your ass there.
Well, it's like you're telling us to pick between you guys and Kristen. We pick Kristen.
Every time. Every single time.
Yes. So, I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking.
Because they're equally as horrible.
They are.
That's the thing. If she was doing this to Danny and Nia, I would be like, Kristen is gone.
Yes.
But she's doing it to two horrible people.
Well,
so.
I love that Jesse and Michelle are like, we're not going where Kristen's going, when I think Michelle would rather it be, I'm not going wherever Jesse's going. Like, that should really...
Right.
They're getting a divorce. That's going to be the case soon, I think.
Well, they already said, Bravo already said that there's going to be a season 2, so.
And everybody's back.
Everybody's been asked back. I really honestly would have liked to have seen just Jason back.
Yeah.
But, we can't do that.
Uh-huh.
But they're all back, and it's going to be interesting. They're not having a reunion, though, Kristen Doty said on our podcast.
I don't get that, because we need to know, or I need to know, I don't know if everybody else needs to know, I need to know personally why and who started this.
Yeah, there's a lot that needs to be explained. It's very disappointing. I don't know why I don't have Andy's private phone number. I do know why, because I would be calling him all the time. But there needs to be a reunion. This is, even if it's in the clubhouse.
Right, they used to do that. That used to be their reunions, was just...
They still do for Below Deck and, and stuff like that, don't they?
I think so. Yeah, they don't give them full...
I don't know if Summer House does. Do they? Yeah, they
Summer
have
houses are
They do
full.
now. They didn't used to.
Right.
And so the Valley could have easily have set something up in the clubhouse, and he could have asked them 1 hour's worth of questions, and we'd at least have gotten some answers.
That, yeah, the clubhouse, or at least have everybody call in remotely. I don't care. I mean, I know that we had to do that during COVID for reunions.
Let me set this up. God, I would do it for free.
I know. Just let me. Give it to me. Give me the power to do that.
I want it. So those were the tweets we pulled for this episode. How do you think it went, Grace?
I think it went pretty good. I think recording was fairly easy, but now I'm going to have to try to figure out how to edit all of this together. So if you're wondering why you're hearing old news from a month ago, it's because it took me that long to figure out the program. So,
well, hopefully you guys stick with us each week as we get better at this, and we can only go up, right?
Right.
We will get better at this. You can find us at Nice-ish Podcast and Love Cindy C on Twitter and Instagram. We'll be pulling posts from both accounts, so if you post a comment, we may pick it to read and discuss. You can listen to Nice-ish wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Look for new episodes every Monday. Thank you for listening, and have a nice-ish day.